What was the most absurd rule you had to abide by growing up with strict parents?
Story 1.
I was not allowed to use the money cheat on Sims growing up because that's not how the real world works. I used to cheat once and couldn't explain where all the money I had came from, so I was grounded and had the Sims taken away.
Story 2.
My mom wouldn't let me open a new milk without her permission or open anything, really, without it. Like, we would have an extra milk in the garage fridge and I would use the rest of the milk inside. Instead of a normal household where you could just get more, I had to call her and ask. So that meant if she didn't pick up, then I would have to wait for her to call back. The first time I realized this wasn't normal is when a friend went to open a new gallon of milk and I got super anxious and was like, dude, you have to call your mom right now or she'll freak out. She was like, my mom will be okay if I need a glass of milk. It suddenly clicked that my mom was a control freak.
Story 3.
Go to school, but I won't drive you. Get good grades, but don't stay for any extracurricular or sports because once you get home, you'll have a list of chores to do. Must be perfect. There's a water spot on this fork. You have to redo every dish in the house. I just made food after you vacuumed. You missed all these crumbs. Do it again. Why are you still up so late? Light off. While trying to get homework done since I spent hours cleaning. No friends over. Curfew is 8 p.m. 8:01, you're not allowed and just stay out. You've done everything I asked. You don't deserve your room. You get the garage. And you need to pay some rent to live under this roof, so you need to go get a job. Oh, and you got a job? Okay, move out. If your stuff is here by the time I get home, it's going to be in the trash.
Story 4.
Nobody in my house was allowed to get the mail except for my dad. Doesn't matter what time he got home. Leave the mail in the mailbox. He would also personally open all the mail no matter the recipient. He would always know if anyone touched it.
Story 5.
I once got grounded for 2 months because my school bus was late. Edit. Backstory. I was 12 years old when this happened. A couple of kids almost got into a fist fight before the school bus left the parking lot, and the bus driver had to get the principal to break it up and escort them back into the school. The bus driver lectured us about fighting before driving us home. This caused us to be 30 minutes late. When I explained this to my mother, she blamed the whole situation on me, which was completely irrational because 1, I barely knew the kids who were involved, 2, I was an introvert, bookworm type who never got into a fight, and 3, if I had been in the fight, I would have been taken to the principal's office for punishment instead of being allowed to ride the bus home. She made a rule that I would be grounded every time the bus was late going forward, regardless of the reasoning. I grew up in the northeast part of the U.S., so even when the bus driver had to drive home slowly because of snow, I would still get punished. Needless to say, I wasn't allowed out of the house much in middle school and high school.
Story 6.
Had to get home before the sun set, even though I went to school an hour and a half away and would get home at the same time each day, but always found myself in trouble during winter. No one in the house was allowed to shave or have a razor at all. I could go to a barber or shave at a friend's house, but had my PC taken away when I tried at home. I still don't understand my mother's logic behind this one. I wasn't allowed to shave my legs. I guess my mom's thinking was that all the hair would serve as boy repellent. It wasn't necessary, though. My personality was more than enough to keep me from getting laid.
Story 7.
My grandmother made me write out the encyclopedia entry on witchcraft when she found out I read the first 4 Harry Potter books, if that counts. My parents were all over the place with strictness. When I was old enough to drive, my younger sister and I would drive to McDonald's just a few miles away. My parents would admonish us, "Whatever you do, do not eat French fries in the car." Invariably, we would get home. They would run out, open the car doors, sniff, and start screaming at us for eating French fries in the car. We never did.
Story 8.
I once got grounded because I did the dishes without having to be reminded. My mom said that I was trying to manipulate her and that I must have only done it because I was trying to get something out of her. In reality, all I wanted out of her was to stop yelling at me about how I never do the dishes without having to be reminded.
Story 9.
My dad wouldn't let me go out at all. The only time he would let me leave the house was to walk to school, and even then, he had to walk me to the entrance. Was teased for it all the time. Due to my isolated upbringing, I'm very socially awkward. And he wonders why I won't go out and find myself a partner. He never raised my sisters that way, just me. He also wouldn't let me chew gum. He would flip out. He has physically pried my mouth open to take the gum out. He is such a bizarre, controlling man.
Story 10.
Something less serious. My mom was paranoid everyone and everything was a kidnapper. She hated the mailman on our route. So, when I was young, 3 or 4 years old, my mom told me it was illegal to be outside when the mail came. Around 11:15 every day, I'd see that truck coming. I'd hightail it inside the house, terrified I would be spotted. Fast forward 30 years, I still genuinely feel a tinge of panic in the smallest recesses of the back of my brain when I see the mailman arrive. Only now it's overpowered by the excitement of my latest Amazon package I really don't need.
Story 11.
My dad was raised with the idea that kids essentially have no opinion, which he passed on to my sister and I. If we were doing anything and he or my mom needed us to do something else, we were expected to immediately drop it and go do the other thing, which doesn't sound that bad until I'd be in the middle of painting or something else messy, but be called to do the dishes. Then in the middle of dishes, be called to clean up the original mess, then go clean that up and be yelled at for not finishing dishes. And Lord help me if I said just a minute or anything of that ilk. I wasn't allowed to leave my room. I could go to the bathroom or the kitchen, but I better have a reason to be there.
Story 12.
My mom was absolutely obsessed with clean feet. Every day before school, she would make sure we got into the bath and cleaned our feet. I know most of you people are like, yeah, well, when I take a shower, I'm already standing in soapy water, so good enough. But that attitude would get your face slapped off around my mom. She had the bath full of scalding hot water every morning, and the first thing we would do before eating, before showering, before changing into our clothes is dip our feet into that too hot water. Then my mom would load our feet up with this really strong smelling soap from some specialty store or something, because I've never seen it anywhere else. And she would scrub every square micro inch of our feet with this stiff, bristled, big toothbrush thing. Maybe it was for cleaning horse teeth, I don't know. It hurt so bad. The water was too hot. The soap stung, the rushing was too intense. I never got used to it, but I couldn't talk back or avoid it either. If I tried to get out of it or complain about it, blam, slapped across the face. Complain about the slap, boom, grounded from TV, the computer, friends, and books. It wasn't until I left for college did I experience what it was like to not thoroughly clean my feet every single morning. It felt liberating. I even walked around without socks sometimes. My mom always made us wear 2 pairs. Still had my feet scrubbed like hell when I came home to visit, though. Only those times it felt good, as if they needed a good cleaning. Even now when I see my mom, she wants to clean my feet. It's pretty great, actually. Imagine going to the dentist to get your teeth cleaned, but it's for your feet instead.